They say the kitchen is the soul of the home. But what happens when that soul starts to feel buried under clutter and used appliances and memories you can't quite let go of? For so many seniors, the kitchen used to be a place of laughter, coffee chats, and holiday smells. Now, it's a reminder of time passing, of things lost and things we still can't part with. But what if I told you that by changing just one thing, your approach, you could bring joy, peace, and purpose back into your kitchen? Today, you'll see exactly how one woman did it. Stay with me until the end, because her story will remind you that no matter your age, you can create beauty again, right where you stand. Meet Marlene Harris, 74 years old, from Eugene, Oregon. A retired librarian with gentle hands and a quiet laugh, she lived in the same house for over 40 years. A house her husband, Frank, built with his own 2 hands. Every corner of that kitchen held their story. The scratch on the countertop from their first Thanksgiving. The old radio where Frank would hum along to Sinatra. The jar of buttons her kids used to play with while she cooked dinner. But over the years, something shifted. After Frank passed, Marlene stopped hosting dinners. The grandkids grew older, visits grew shorter. And with every year, new clutter quietly moved in. Small reminders that life had slowed down. I used to love mornings here, she said softly. Now, I just make coffee and sit in silence. That's when she decided, if I want peace in my heart, I need peace in my home. And that's where our story begins. Step 1. Begin with memory, not the mop. When most people start organizing, they rush for garbage bags. But Marlene started with a notebook. She sat at her table, took a slow breath, and wrote, "I want my kitchen to feel like love again." That small intention became her anchor. Experts say people over 60 are more successful at decluttering when they reconnect emotionally first. So before you begin, don't just see mess, see memories. Every item tells a story. The mug from your best friend, the pan from your first apartment. Ask yourself, what story do I want to keep telling? Marlene realized she wasn't cleaning to erase the past. She was making room to enjoy it again. Step 2. The gentle declutter, one drawer at a time. Marlene started with the smallest drawer in her kitchen. Inside, a mix of rubber bands, old receipts, and one cookie cutter shaped like a heart. She smiled. That heart was from a baking day with her daughter when she was 10. She didn't throw it away. She placed it in a clear jar labeled Little Joys. And that became her rule. Only keep what sparks warmth, not guilt. Decluttering doesn't mean throwing away your life. It means keeping what makes your life shine brighter. Try it, one drawer, one decision at a time. And if you find something that makes you smile, give it a place of honor. Step 3. The safety reset. Love your future self. Aging changes how we use space. For Marlene, that meant acknowledging her body had new limits. And that wasn't defeat, it was wisdom. We moved her heavy pots to waist level, her spices to a rotating shelf, her glass dishes to a padded drawer. According to the National Institute on Aging, more than 60% of kitchen-related injuries among seniors happen due to awkward reaching or bending. So design your kitchen like it loves you back. Every shelf should whisper, "I'm here to help you, not hurt you." Marlene told me later, "I used to feel embarrassed admitting I couldn't reach the top shelf anymore. Now I just feel smart for changing it." Step 4. The counter reset, the 3-item rule. When we started, Marlene's counters were cluttered. Spice jars, cups, half-used candles, mail. The chaos made her feel constantly behind. We cleared everything and started fresh. Her rule: only 3 visible items per counter. She chose 1. A bowl of bright lemons. 2. A framed photo of her and Frank. 3. A small vase with a single flower. That's it. Minimalism isn't about empty space. It's about breathing space. When she saw her counters clear again, she whispered, "It looks like hope fits here again." Step 5. The pantry of purpose. The pantry, she admitted, was the hardest. Rows of expired soup cans, forgotten snacks, dusty boxes. She said, "It feels like a time capsule." But instead of guilt, we focused on gratitude. Every item had once meant preparation, care, survival. We made 3 shelves. Every day, special occasions, and extras to share. Marlene filled a donation box for her local food pantry. Items still good but unused. When she dropped it off, the volunteer smiled and said, "You just fed 6 families." That night she called me crying. She said, "For the first time in years, my clutter helped someone else." Step 6. The comfort drawer, hidden treasure. Every senior deserves a drawer that makes them smile. Not for utensils but for comfort. Marlene filled hers with a small notebook for recipes, a lavender candle, her favorite pen, a packet of tea she saves for peaceful evenings. Now every time she opens it, she remembers to slow down, to be present. Try it yourself, 1 drawer filled only with peace. It's like giving yourself a quiet hug every day. Step 7. The memory wall, bringing the past into the present. One wall in Marlene's kitchen was bare, so we turned it into what she called the memory wall. We framed 3 photographs. 1 her and Frank's wedding, 2 her family's first Christmas dinner, 3 a candid of her holding her first grandchild, covered in flour. Every morning as she makes her coffee, she smiles at those faces. She told me, "It's like having breakfast with them." Studies show that visual memory displays can reduce loneliness and increase life satisfaction among older adults. So instead of boxes of photos hidden in a closet, display a few that make you feel alive. Step 8. The light reset, let the warmth in. Lighting shapes mood. Marlene's kitchen had heavy drapes that blocked the sun. We replaced them with sheer curtains and added warm LED bulbs under her cabinets. When the light poured in, her entire space looked reborn. She said, "It doesn't feel like I'm living in the past anymore. It feels like morning again." Sunlight heals more than rooms. Heals moods. Step 9. The 1 in 1 out rule, simplicity that lasts. Clutter creeps in quietly. That's why Marlene made this her golden rule. Whenever something new comes in, something old goes out. When she bought a new pan, she donated one. When she received a gift mug, she gave another away. That balance kept her space fresh, and her heart light. She wrote it on a sticky note near her sink. Gratitude in, clutter out. Step 10. Hosting again, the true reward. After weeks of small changes, Marlene decided to host her family for the first time in years. Her daughter brought a pie. Her grandson helped set the table. When everyone walked in, they gasped. Her granddaughter said, "Grandma, your kitchen feels happy again." And that's when Marlene smiled the way she hadn't in years. She said quietly, "It's not just the kitchen. It's me." The food wasn't perfect. The plates didn't match. But laughter filled the air again. And for the first time in a long time, Marlene realized something profound. Decluttering doesn't empty your home. It makes room for life to come back in. Bonus segment. The morning ritual. Since then, every morning, she's created a ritual. She turns on the radio, opens the curtains, and makes her tea. She lights her candle and whispers, "Thank you for another day." That's her new peace. Not silence. Not perfection. Just gratitude. Try it. Tomorrow morning before you rush, stand in your kitchen and breathe. You'll feel it too. Decluttering isn't just cleaning. It's rewriting your story. It's saying, "I deserve space, calm and joy, even now." So whether you start with 1 drawer or the whole pantry, remember, you're not just organizing things. You're rediscovering you. And if this story spoke to your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone you love. Because the moment one person finds peace in their space, it ripples through generations. Marlene's daughter now calls her kitchen the heart of the house again. And every time she cooks, she says she feels her father's presence, not as loss but as light. So if you're watching this, I want to challenge you. Pick one small corner of your kitchen tonight. It could be the counter, the pantry, or even the fridge door. Clear it, wipe it clean. And as you do, say quietly to yourself, "I'm making room for peace." Because peace doesn't just arrive. It's something we create. one gentle act at a time. If this message touched you, subscribe to Reset for Seniors for more stories like Marlene's. Stories of real change, quiet courage, and the beauty of aging on your own terms. And remember, it's never too late to fall back in love with your home or your life. When I started decluttering my kitchen, I thought it would just make cooking easier. I didn't expect it to heal so many small, invisible parts of my life. I realized that every drawer, every cabinet, every forgotten corner held a memory, some joyful, some bittersweet. And as I began organizing, I wasn't just sorting utensils. I was sorting years of love, family, and change. So, let me walk you through something deeper, the part of kitchen organization that no one tells you about. The part that isn't just about where things go, but what they mean. 1. The emotional shelf. The first thing I did wasn't physical. It was emotional. I opened the top shelf of my pantry and found an old jar of strawberry jam, the kind my late husband used to love. It had been sitting there for years. I couldn't bring myself to throw it away, even though it had long expired. That's when I learned something powerful. Organizing your kitchen starts with acknowledging what each object represents. It's okay to keep one item that connects you to someone you love. But if every shelf becomes a shrine to the past, you leave no room for your present. So I kept the jar lid. Just the lid. I cleaned it and placed it in a memory box in the living room. The jar itself, I let it go. That moment felt like closing a gentle chapter, not erasing it. 2. The everyday joy drawer. Most people have a junk drawer, but I created something different, a joy drawer. Instead of cables and batteries, I filled mine with things that make me smile every morning. A floral napkin, my favorite wooden spoon, a small lavender sachet that smells like my mother's kitchen. Experts in environmental psychology say our environment can directly affect serotonin, the hormone that regulates mood and calm. That means a clean, intentional space can actually lift your mental health. I noticed that when I opened that drawer, I smiled. And that tiny smile became my reminder. I'm still here, still capable of creating beauty. 3. Cooking for one without feeling alone. After retirement, cooking started to feel pointless. You spend decades cooking for family, and then suddenly it's just you. But I found that the kitchen doesn't lose its meaning. We just have to redefine it. I started setting the table, even if it was just for myself. A plate, a folded napkin, a cup of tea. I played soft jazz while I cooked. One night, I even lit a candle. That act of self-respect, of saying I'm worth this, changed everything. Studies show that seniors who maintain small rituals like mealtime setup report higher happiness levels and less loneliness. So my advice, don't eat standing at the counter. Breathe. Enjoy your meal like it's a conversation with yourself. For the let go cabinet. We all have that one cabinet, the one filled with old Tupperware without lids, chipped mugs, and pans that have seen better days. Decluttering that space was emotional. I realized I had been holding on to things that no longer served me, simply because I was afraid of change. Here's what helped. I asked myself, if my daughter came over today, would I want her to use this? The answer was no. Out it went. I replaced those items with 3 good pans and 2 plates I actually loved. For the first time in years, I felt proud of how my kitchen looked. Not because it was perfect, but because it reflected who I am now, not who I was decades ago. 5. Music and memory while you clean. Here's something small but transformative. Play music from your happiest decade while you organize. I chose the 1970s, the songs my husband and I danced to in our tiny apartment when we first got married. I noticed that cleaning didn't feel like a chore anymore. It became a dance, a rhythm, a connection to my youth. Psychologists call this positive nostalgia, using memory to lift the spirit instead of weighing it down. It worked like magic. I'd catch myself humming, dusting with a little sway in my step, and for those moments I wasn't just tidying, I was time traveling. 6. The spice of life shelf. Your spice rack says a lot about your life. When I started organizing mine, I realized I had spices that expired 5 years ago, things I never used. I threw them away, kept the ones I loved, cinnamon, paprika, oregano, and arranged them in clear jars with little handwritten labels. Every time I open that cabinet now, it feels like a gentle affirmation. I'm still creating flavor, still adding warmth to my life. And maybe that's what decluttering really is. Not cleaning up but waking up. 7. The safety step we forget. This is something that's rarely mentioned but matters deeply. Safety. Many seniors face falls or kitchen accidents because of cluttered layouts. When I reorganized, I made sure that heavy pots were on lower shelves, that frequently used items were within easy reach, and that I had a stool with a handle for higher cabinets. According to the CDC, over 1 in 4 adults over 65 experience a fall each year, many of them at home. So I moved my tea kettle closer to the stove, cleared pathways, and made sure nothing sharp sat at awkward angles. That simple adjustment made me feel independent again. 8. Reconnecting the kitchen with memory. One afternoon, as I was reorganizing a drawer of silverware, I found a small spoon with a faded engraving. "To Mom, love, 1998. My son had given it to me when he was a teenager. I held it for a long time, then decided it deserved better than a dark drawer. I placed it in a shadow box frame and hung it near the dining table. That tiny spoon became a daily reminder. Love leaves traces, even in small things. That's why I tell everyone, decluttering doesn't mean erasing the past. It means honoring it properly so it can shine. 9. Reimagining the kitchen table. The kitchen table is more than furniture. It's a stage for a lifetime of stories. After my husband passed, I avoided sitting there for months. Felt too quiet, too empty. But one day, I set a vase of fresh daisies on the table. The next day, I added a little radio. And slowly, that space came alive again. Now, it's where I journal in the mornings, where I video call my granddaughter, and where I read recipes I may never cook, but still enjoy dreaming about. The lesson: the heart of the home doesn't fade. It just waits to be rediscovered. 10. The thank you moment. When I finally finished organizing, I stood in the middle of my kitchen and whispered, "Thank you. Thank you to this room for feeding my family. Thank you for holding decades of birthdays, laughter, and even tears. Thank you for being patient with me while I learned to start again." And that's when I understood. Organizing your kitchen isn't just about neatness. It's about gratitude. When you treat your space with care, it gives peace back in return. What surprised me most was what happened after. Once the kitchen felt lighter, I started waking up earlier. I had more energy. I found myself baking again, calling old friends, even inviting my neighbor over for tea. Science backs this up. Cluttered spaces increase mental fatigue, while orderly ones encourage activity and social connection. Within weeks, I noticed something else. My blood pressure went down, my sleep improved, and my sense of loneliness softened. Decluttering my kitchen became a metaphor for my life. Letting go, making space, and rediscovering joy in small things. So, if you're listening to this right now, standing in your own kitchen surrounded by clutter, don't rush it. Start with one corner, one drawer, one shelf. And remember, you're not just cleaning, you're creating peace. Because every pot you polish, every drawer you clear, is a quiet love letter to the person you are still becoming. If this story touched you, take a moment today to stand in your kitchen, not to judge it but to thank it. And if you're ready to reclaim the calm you deserve, hit that like button, share this video with someone you care about, and subscribe to Reset for Seniors for more stories that celebrate renewal, resilience, and hope.